Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Real Sports Scope on this Thursday, May 22nd. Got the Mad New Yorker backstage. Going to get into what do you want to call it? A great comeback. You want to call it a choke job, whatnot. We're going to get into that next game, and I can see the Mad New Yorker chomping at the bit for that. We'll talk about that. Brock Purdy. I haven't forgot about the Brock Purdy contract. We'll talk about that as well. Oklahoma City Thunder. Minnesota Timberwolves game 2 tonight. We got to evaluate game 1. Got to evaluate what we saw from this series so far. So stand by. Take our first and only break. We'll be back here momentarily, and we'll hit the ground running here on the Real Sports Scope. Hello, Sports Scope followers. The program has seen tremendous growth since going 5 days a week. I just wanted to thank everybody for your cash contributions and sharing the program with friends and families. Just a reminder, if you want to contribute to the program, go to the Cash App, the cash sign, and Sports Scope. There are other ways to contribute to the program listed at the bottom of the screen. If you want to advertise on the program, go to sports, that is sports with an S, another S, scope, SKOPE, at gmail.com, just like it's listed at the bottom of the screen. Thank you and enjoy the program. All righty then. Let me get our sound situated here, and we'll bring in the Mad New Yorker. All righty, Mad New Yorker. Since you're the Mad New Yorker, the Knicks lost. I'll let you go first. People had not heard me. A little bit of an echo there, man. You good?
Yeah, I'm good. Can you hear me?
Okay, we're good now.
All right. Yeah, so let's just start NBA talk and talk
the
about
New York Knicks. With the Knicks. Do you call it a choke job? Do you call it just a willful comeback? What's your thoughts on that game? How it played out? Just got done watching it myself. I'll let you go first.
I think that the Knicks came out, with a little bit of urgency, but you could tell that they had very little stamina and very little, they weren't prepared for after making a run, keeping them from getting a run on them. So I think it's a little bit of coaching in there that they could have done, but this is a team that was falling behind 20 points and would come back and use that formula to get through the first 2 teams that they played. And this was the first time that they actually had a 20-point lead on a team and they couldn't sustain it. So my opinion is that they were A, tired, and then B, the coaching didn't step in. Tibbs didn't step in. He could have stopped the Knicks from throwing up shots and trying to go 1-for-1 with Indiana while they were making a run. Every time Indiana shot one, the Knicks shot one, and they missed. The Pacers were moving the ball fast and scoring fast, where they would, within 30, 40 seconds, they had 3 shots, and the Knicks would have 1 or 2, and they would miss those 1 or 2. So that enabled the Pacers to come back at a faster pace, so to speak, when they were in the end of third and the beginning of fourth quarter. So when they were already tied, or they were going back and forth in the fourth quarter, there was no urgency from the Knicks to slow down the game. They were pretty sloppy with the ball handling.
Yes.
So that's again, has to do with stamina and also coaching. Tibbs could have called a couple more timeouts during the third quarter to stop the bleeding. There's just a lot of small little things that the players did that the coach could have just stepped in and been like, let's calm down, let's get it together. The Knicks aren't the best defensive team in the NBA by far. They play decent defense and they play good clutch defense, but that, again, this is a team that's been coming back from 20 points to get back into a game, where this time they had to sustain a lead and they couldn't do it. So because they haven't done it before either. So This is you're a casualty of a consequence. There's a consequence, man. Like you're not used to doing these kind of things anyway. So, and you're playing a team that's essentially 3 years younger than you are, right? The average age on Indiana is 25, and the Knicks are 27, 28, close to 20.
Okay.
Right. So they got beat by the younger kids. That's what it is. Go to sleep it off. You come back and fight another day. Like you got nothing else to do. The Pacers did what they were supposed to do. They put the ball in people's hands. They played the game on the court, and that's what you got to do.
Yeah. First, watching this early on, I noticed they got off to a really good start. Indiana did, shot ridiculously 60-70%, hit everything they threw up. That being said, Knicks are the better team. I mean, naked eye, watching this whole game, looking at points in the paint, looking at points of looking at rebounding edge, 7.7 rebounding edge. You look at points in the paint, which is huge. Offensive rebounds, which is huge. Obviously, the Pacers shot 40.5% from three, and that's just a lot of that was just throwing stuff out their rear end. It was a stat I heard. Knicks Mitchell Robertson, 39% of missed shots or in playoffs, the most they've got to play, the most by any team. 39% of missed shots, he gets rebounds. So they have that big rebounding edge, and you're up 15 points. I made a note here. They're up 14 with 6:52 to go, and Towns is taking a wild 3-point shot.
He took two in a row.
Yes. With 20. Well, tell the audience here, with 24 seconds, 20 seconds, 18 seconds left on the shot clock. It's basically like trying to overthrow a long pass when you're up big and you have a running lane to run the football. If you're doing a football analogy per se. Towns is such, he is almost to the point he's an inch away for the podcast audience. He's an inch away from me calling him a double-edged sword like a Russell Westbrook per se. Even late in the game, Carlos, if you notice, he takes the ball inside when they're inside a minute. Instead of the coach, you're right, Thibodeau's got to say, hey, bring it back. He's sitting there taking layups. It's not to score. It's to run the clock down so they cannot score. They cough this game up like a cat coughing up a hairball, but they got the better team. This feels like to me, I'll say this and I'll let you, Claude, chime in. This feels like to me like that comeback a few years ago the Boston Celtics made in game 1 against the Golden State Warriors. Ultimately, the Warriors beat them in 6. They should win. If they lose, it's all coaching because they went 8 deep. And, of course, the Indiana went 10 deep. I don't think that's a big disparity with the benches. What do you think?
Yeah, and like you're right about those things. And, when they were trying to run the clock out, they just seemed like they didn't know what to do with the ball. They didn't know who to go to. And they it's just a terrible handling job. Poor passing. It's one thing to keep Towns on the 3-point line in the first, second, and third quarter. It's the fourth quarter. Keep him inside, force Indiana to try to stop him, to try to get an inlet pass, force Indiana to play deep. They had never in the last 5 minutes of the game played the game to have Indiana try to catch. Indiana was in a flow, in a rhythm. They just kept going back and forth, up and down the court. And they never tried to stop them and create their own tempo, just, in any which way. And, throwing up those 2 shots in a row, the threes that didn't go in, it's okay that you go for a layup. I mean, don't go in for a layup, but try to pump and get the foul, stop the clock, take a couple more shots, and expand your lead a little bit. No small things like that. Nothing like that. And when you don't do those small things, then you deserve to lose the game, man. I'm sorry, but you had the ball was in their court. They had home court advantage. They had Brunson scoring more than 30 points. They had Towns scoring more than 30 points. They got guys scoring more than 20 points. You're right. They had the better team, but they did not play the better basketball. And that's what made the difference.
Rick Carlisle outcoached Tom Thibodeau in this game.
I think, and somebody mentioned this on Facebook. What's this guy's name from Austin P?
Kevin? Coach Carroll?
No. I'll see his name. I'll mention him later because I was hoping to maybe do some work with him.
Mr. Governor?
He said that Rick Carlisle, our coach, I was like, did Rick Carlisle actually outcoach Thibodeau, or did the Pacers player actually play better in the end of the game? That Rick Carlisle didn't have to coach them up. They did all the right things.
Yeah.
So
Towns I think Towns does not listen well to coaching. I just see it in his body language. Because for one thing, he takes too many threes for a big man, and he's a great free throw shooter. They said he's like 92% in the playoffs.
Yeah, so why not just double pump, double fake, and get fouled and sit at the foul line at the last?
He's got to stay in the paint. Yeah, Turner can't guard him. Neither can Siakam. And going back to that Mitchell Robertson, 39% second chance points when he's in. Now, Robertson can't hit the broadside of a barn. You can't have him in late. But he's getting 22 minutes. That dude would get about 25 minutes in next game. I do like the rest. I like the early strategy of the Knicks of using a lot of passes, doing a lot of high pick and roll, getting into the clock. It's like they just don't stay disciplined to the game plan. It's like we know we can win running the ball, but we want to throw just to show we can throw. No, just play in that flow, man. Not unless something happens, you get down. You're the bigger, more physical team. You can win. But if you play full court, you cannot play over 120 points a game. That's going to the deeper, faster, more athletic Indiana team. That's not good. You got to keep it down low. I'll say inside 115 is what the pace, and that's 2025 talk. That's not typical Knicks back in the day, 98, 92 crap.
These guys, they're not going to outrun Allen. They're not going to outrun any of these guys. That Siakam. They're not going to outrun anybody.
Burton or Duran or whatever.
Yeah, these guys, they're not going to outrun. The team is younger than them. The team had 2 weeks.
And they're thin and frail. They've got that. They're lean.
Yeah, they just got.
I don't think the age is a big difference.
The age, it does, because you look at Towns and he's a heavy 32 plus year old.
Well, he is an older player. Yeah,
he got 10 years plus this is what 10th year, 11th year in the league. He's not going stride for stride.
He's like 30. I think
he ain't going up and down the court. He's not. He's heavy footed, man, and
that's true. Yes,
Indiana takes advantage of that. There's nobody in the middle. If he just scored or just got fouled and coming back from a foul and running up the court, Indiana's already there setting up and they're ready to attack the inside. So I'm not saying that Towns is a bad player. I'm just saying that the Knicks have to slow down the pace to make sure that everybody's situated and everybody can go and move on, because they are surrounded by younger, quicker. Maybe not as maybe they'll all be maybe they're as fast as some of them are just as fast as other players, but they not quicker. The Knicks aren't quicker than the Pacers.
No, I don't know who's quicker, the Pacers or the Thunder. So those are the two quickest teams out there.
And Robert, those are the two right now teams in the NBA leading the NBA in scoring opportunities. Those two teams. Yeah. The Thunder.
Well, they got the pace,
and the Pacers, right? So they're the two of the top teams that have under 25-year-olds, average of a team that's under 25-year-olds. So age does matter, Robert, especially if these guys are going in series where.
Well, I think it matters when you're a Lakers or for God's sake, a Golden State that's 35, 37. I don't think it matters when you're both under 30, unless you're a heavier team per se. And you're right, the Knicks are a little bit thicker, but you have size. You can't. The Pacers aren't going to grow any bigger. If the Pacers win this game without injury, it's because the Knicks gave them this game. It's because the Knicks were out cold. So, and remember, Rick Carlisle won an NBA championship with the Dallas Mavericks some years back. So you got to keep that in mind if you are the New York Knicks. I think they're going to be okay and still win this series, but winners of game one, that's crucial, man. That is crucial.
Yeah.
There's a little room for error.
Yeah, and I feel like, again, and I've been talking about this, the New York fans have been going crazy as if they won the Super Bowl or some kind of World Cup or something, like they're back in the playoffs. That's great. But this is New York, and what I don't care about being in the playoffs. I want to see championship runs. Like, I want to be in the stands watching a championship game. I could care less if you beat the Pistons and anybody else. Like, none of that stuff matters. Like, the game that's tomorrow will matter tomorrow, and that's it. Take it one game at a time.
And I'll be driving too. I'll be recording. Do not text me. I'll be watching it on delay. I mean, you could, I guess. I just won't look at it. But I'm just telling you, I'm not going to reply. But that was frustrating last night. I'm sure you wanted to just scream.
The only thing that upset me was, like, this is the first time, Robert, in the playoffs that the Knicks were ahead close to 20 points on a team. They weren't coming. They didn't have to come back. They didn't have to work as hard.
That's true.
They were not able to sustain any of it. It was just frustrating. Terrible passing, terrible shots, missed dunks. And now, granted, Indiana was almost doing the same thing, which is why they fell behind, because they had terrible passes in the beginning of the game. They had dunks that didn't go in. They were shooting threes. The guys who weren't supposed to be shooting threes were shooting threes. So, it was happening, and it felt like I was watching the Twilight Zone, and all of a sudden, again, the Pacers were going down. In less than a minute, they had like 3 or 4 shots go in, and the Knicks had taken 2 shots and didn't go in.
Okay.
Right?
I did write down one more note that I want to tell the audience here. They're up 8, which is essentially 3 possessions.
Right.
Okay. With a minute and 20 seconds to go, Chad, and why do you blow that lead? Okay, 24 seconds. 24 seconds. That's practically what? 2.5, 3.5 possessions? And Towns is taking the ball to the rim and not running the clock down. Why do you want to put it where they're shooting out of desperation? They're not. You just don't want to give them that kind of time to get an open shot there. The clock is your friend at that point. Brunson's got to have the ball almost at all times at that point. That freaking Towns will screw up a free meal. He's just not used to winning. Hopefully by the way, there was a video that leaked out of these guys arguing on the bench at the end of the game. They care. I think they're going to make the adjustment. They got a lot of team chemistry, but up 8 with 1:20 to go. I'm sure there was a pretty loud film room today watching that. You've got to let them earn it. You beat them 99% of this game.
You had it. I mean, like, again, Thibodeau did not take advantage of the timeouts and being in the timeout, calming people down. Like, and Brunson was sitting resting because he was already tired.
He did get some good rest in this game.
He got 5 minutes while the Knicks were getting scored on left and right. But again, even if you put Brunson in, you're not getting defense. You're getting him attacking the basket, and maybe the 2 shots he took, one will go in. So that's something that you got to think about too. Like, I don't know, man. It's just,
we got a good quarterback in there with him. Let's talk about this other series. Get your thoughts on Minnesota, Oklahoma City. Is it over for Minnesota, or do they come back and make this a series?
If they come back and make it a series, no, not if. Could they?
Could they come back and make this?
Because and I know people don't like looking to what they have done prior to the playoffs, but they were essentially a team that made a run. Like, what was it? 10? They won 10 games in a row or something like that.
Oklahoma City or Minnesota?
No, Minnesota.
Yeah, they did.
Right,
down the stretch, correct.
Right, down the stretch. They were like 10 in a row. So they have it in them. the problem is, I feel like the same thing. These guys are under the age of 25 years old. The guys that are older are holding them back. Guys like Randall, like
Conley's
Randall,
150 in basketball
like
years.
You would think that, okay, he did very well the first 2 quarters. You could have just shut him down from there and then brought him back in the fourth quarter. You could have shut him down a whole quarter, and moved the young guys around him, and then brought him back, because you're not gonna get, you're not gonna get the same out of him that he had the first 2 quarters. So, I don't know. I think it's just poor player management, poor player decisions, and some of these shots are taken and some of the things that they're doing. DiVincenzo throwing up threes, trying to get hot. Like, bro, make a basket, make a layup. Just try to get a rhythm going, but don't just shoot up shots, and you're hurting your team, man. The possession tends to go to the other team then on a offense, on a defensive rebound, and then they break away. They're fast enough to make a break, breakaway for that, and it just looks like, again, the coach is not stepping in and trying to slow down the game, trying to get the guys back in the rhythm. I think that if the Timberwolves win a game or two, they're not going to win more than that. I don't think with the team that they're playing against and they're up against, that is the first and the best scoring proficiency in the NBA. They're not going to beat this OKC.
Yeah. Something. This year, these last couple of seasons, it's really hard to get a feel for how these playoffs are going. It's really hard to make a prediction, because history will tell you the average age is 23.9 on the Oklahoma City. They would be the youngest team ever to win the championship.
Yeah, under 25.
I talked about this yesterday. It's really inside baseball crap, but with this new CBA, there's a term called apron that has been implemented, where you can't simply stack teams, okay? And it's more about roster construction and whatnot. And basically, you're throwing off the traditional way we've always looked at and saw, as far as historical standings per se, like the Boston Celtics, when they were about this age, when they was trying to get past the Cavs, they could never get past the Cavs. Like the Bulls, go back many years, when they were very young, they could not get past the Pistons. But this team, they're skipping all that. They feel like the best team in the league, man. I mean, to go Game 7 with Denver like that, and to just beat this team like that with all that rest. And by the way, and I mentioned this yesterday with Jeffrey Deskovic, 54-20 point in the paint Oklahoma City had against Minnesota. So Gobert's going to have to find some offense, and your Randalls, they're going to have to get better in the paint, or this thing could be over with in 5 games. So Minnesota can come back, but I would have picked Minnesota because of their experience coming in. So I would have been wrong about that.
Yeah,
to be honest with you.
So, and like we talked before about Minnesota, so Gobert would have to average 20 plus.
Yeah.
Randall would have to get 20 plus. Have to, not like maybe no. You have to get.
He had 28 the other night, but that was all threes.
Right. He had 28
You can't
points.
live off that.
DiVincenzo has to average 20 plus points. And this guy is going to score 30 points. Maybe if he has, and he can do it. Anthony Edwards, he can score. He can get 30 points. That's not a question.
Edwards can get 30 on this defense.
That's not a question.
This is a good defense.
Right.
Elite defense.
But Gobert, he going to get 20 points?
If you can get about 14 and about 12 out of him.
No, you can't. He has to get 20 points because, and here's the thing, because the interior defense of OKC, they're lanky, but they're not tough or rough or
they're not thick.
They're not thick, right? So Gobert.
In other words, if you get Hardenstein in trouble, you got a chance.
Right, that's correct.
Because Holmgren, he can just push him out of the way. He's He's like a flea, you know.
Well, Holmgren's more of a he's more of an outside inside player anyway, which I never understood. But anyway, but you have Gobert. You're the older guy. You're the one with the most experience. You have to get your 20 points. You can't just be in there and getting 10 rebounds and 5 assists and think your game is over.
It's normally not his game, but that's going to have to be your strategy, or you're dead meat. They could get swept. Now,
because Randall's not going to get 25, 30 points every game.
Randall's got to get a higher percentage. They're going to have to play inside out instead of outside in ball. And they're going to have to muck it up and try to get these players in foul trouble.
Right.
If not, they're beat. I mean, Oklahoma City, I was saying this yesterday, it's like they got 7 or 8 guys out there, you know? They're so fast to the ball. I mean, they're impressive, man. Right now, if I didn't know this age and all this history, I would say they should be the favorite to win the whole thing. And Presti, man, he got Executive of the Year. I've always liked him. I've always bragged on him, but he doesn't have a ring. This may be his shot to get that ring with a very young team. Other than their lead player, I think he's 26, SGA, but everybody else is really young.
Yeah, so, check this out. SGA gets 30 points a game. Easy.
Yeah.
Easy. Edwards gets 30 points a game. The difference is on OKC, their bench players are getting 12-plus points a game. All 20 of them that come out.
They're deep. They're the deepest team out there, probably.
Where on the other side, you're not, again, and I kept saying this about Randall. Yeah, he will have his games, but he's not consistently making those points. So you can't depend on that. So who else is going to pick up the slack? DiVincenzo, he ain't been shooting well. He's so.
It's gotta be Naz Reid. It's gotta be Daniels. It's those guys. The Fingenjo, forget about Fingenjo. He's a 7th or 8th or 9th guy. He should be an off the bench guy. Reid's got to play his role.
Yeah, Robert. But the problem, you cannot throw DiVincenzo out of the equation because he's getting the most minutes.
Well, that's a coaching.
You're giving him 30-plus minutes, Robert. So you can't be like, oh, he's a 7th option to score for you. No, if he's the one,
he may have to change his starting lineup.
Yeah, if he's the one in
bench for that head coach up there.
I'm telling you, bro. And this is something that we discussed when the Timberwolves were playing Golden State, which I was like, I don't think they're gonna win and beat Golden State.
But I picked Minnesota because I knew Golden State was 100.
I mean, I go to Denver. I was like, I was very. There was a lot of trepidation to try to choose Timberwolves.
You picked Denver, didn't you?
I did. But the problem with Denver was that they couldn't get over their injuries. These guys were playing too many minutes injured, and that was terrible coaching. So I mean.
Oklahoma City's deep, man. They're deep. They're energetic, and the moment's not too big for them.
No, and we often talk about it. Remember, if you want to win a championship, you got to be what?
Young,
9 deep, 8 to 9 deep. Remember?
Yeah, deep. Well, that's the thing now. It's about your general managers finding bench players that can play valuable minutes. This is the NBA in 2025. We'll have the 7th champion in the last 7 years. This is the most parity the league has ever had.
Nice.
Do you like this? That's unpredictable. I like it. I'm okay with not having a Golden State just run roughshod on the league or Lakers like that. Some people don't. I do. What are your thoughts about that? Because that's where this thing is going.
Yeah, I don't. The parity doesn't bother me. I think what bothers me more right now is everybody looking for the foul and everybody that's like not playing out the game, not stop the stoppages for some of these failing falls and these fouls that don't exist, or the foul that does exist, but and then I don't think that the punishment is adequate. So it's like it's one of those things that they're trying to figure out. It messes with the momentum of the game.
So you don't like people trying to get cheap fouls?
Yeah, it's like
I'm okay with the physical play.
Yeah, I mean, fine. Okay, so here's the thing: if you're gonna be physical, both teams are gonna be physical. Just let them kind of play it out. But then you're gonna go and call one foul and then try to make a makeup call for another foul. I don't like all that, and then I don't like the players looking back and being hesitant or being just kind of like just really nervous about doing things because they don't know if they're going to be called a foul or not. So you got to somewhere or another. If you're gonna say it's playoff basketball and fouls are less likely to be called, don't look for the foul. Man up and be like, all right, just charge through.
Yeah, assume you're not going to get fouled. Try to get to the rim.
Right,
Stop
changing
flopping.
mentality, man.
Nobody wants to see flop. Oh, I forgot to ask you, just get you on record. Do you think the Knicks are going to come back and win this series, or you think Indiana's going to win it just by taking a road win?
No, I think this is going to go 7 games, I believe, and it's going to be the last 3 points. I don't know who's going to win this because they don't.
Oh, come on, man!
There's no team.
You're afraid to pick a winner. Nobody's going to execute you if you pick a winner or a loser.
No, it's not that. It's not that at all. It's just like this: the way that these teams are, the way they've been playing. There's no fundamental structure to what either of these teams are doing. So, like you said, the parity is there in different ways, and I like you got to watch the whole game now. You can't just be like, I was gonna stop watching the games when Knicks were up by 18 points plus. I was like, all right, turn this off.
Now they know how it feels to be
right, but I did, and then I started watching. Like, wait a minute, why the pace is catching up? And it was just like I felt like indigestion would making its way up to my body, even though I didn't. What's going on? It was just terrible.
All right, you don't have the courage to pick. I think the Knicks will come back and win.
In how many games?
I think Minnesota's probably in trouble. I'd like to see them come back and win. That'd be interesting, but we'll see. We'll see.
I think OKC is going through.
Yeah.
I'll pick them
youngest team to make it to the finals.
I'll pick them in 4.
Okay, I don't know about maybe. This game hasn't went back to Minnesota yet, so
I don't think home court advantage will help.
Be in 6.
I don't think home court advantage will help
it the other way. You know,
I feel like this is the first time in NBA history that home court advantage doesn't matter on both sides. So that's what I'm saying.
I think it's better for your bench players at home. So we'll see. We could be wrong, and Indiana could win that series. That would be a choke job if they did because of the rebound and edge for New York. But at the other series, I mean, Oklahoma City's they're very impressive, man. You know, a lot of that you just think, man, that's just regular season nonsense. These young kids are going to fold in the playoffs, and you know. All they needed was 1 year, and now they're ready. So we'll see. I hope I'm wrong. You know, I would like to see Minnesota make that progress and let OKC earn it a little bit more. But hey, you gotta win the game. It just is what it is. So let's move on, man. Brock Purdy signed a big extension, $55 million. Or was it $52 million plus per year? Did not like that. What's your thoughts on that contract? I'll let you go first. I don't think I even got to that story yesterday.
I feel like with Brock Purdy, they should have just gave him an extension and not a full contract. They shouldn't have given him a full contract because he still don't know what he is. I don't feel like as a fan watching football, I don't know what he is yet. Like you've seen Debo go out, you've seen McCarthy go out, you've seen him some games he plays well, some games he doesn't suit up and play well. So he's had a few injuries. So I would have maybe just stretched it out a little bit more and been like, can I confide in this guy as a QB 100%? And I would have gave him I wouldn't have gone full new contract on him.
And I just don't know what the deal is with the 49ers. I really have not liked what they've done lately, man. You know, they signed Fred Warner to an extension. They signed George Kittle to an extension. That's 2 guys I would have tried to move off of. And the old adage, you rather move a year early than a year late.
Right.
You know, I wouldn't have signed McCaffrey to that big extension. I knew I could see this coming mile away. That McCaffrey injury, man, I could see that 4 or 5 miles down the road.
Yeah, but when Debo got hurt, that wasn't a walking apart.
I would try to trade Debo. Now, of course, Debo is traded now. That was a year late though. So they moved. Debo is with the Commanders. So I will say this: $53 million a year average. That needed to be about $10-12 million cheaper than that. That didn't happen.
Yeah.
I haven't seen the yearly cap hits. I think they'll be very competitive this year. They got the easiest schedule in the NFL, by the way. They may make if they win the Super Bowl this year, we'll all forget about it in years to come. That's a big if, but maybe they will. They had those high draft picks, although I read that those picks wasn't that good. They picked 11th at the first round.
My question to you is, do you think their window of winning the Super Bowl has been shut, or do you think this is it shutting right now?
Man, that window's closing you got to jump through that window right now, or you're going to end up hitting the wall. You're jumping through that window like it's like a warp zone in Mario Brothers.
Yeah, well, that was last. I feel like that was last year for them, and it didn't work out.
Or the year before last.
So I think last year, because last year,
well, they got hurt last year.
Yeah, I know, but again, barring the injuries, they would have been a playoff team. But that's not how it worked. So, and the reason I say this because of all the contracts, right? Everybody this year had to be re-upped or gone, traded. So I feel like because of the injuries, they're putting out these new contracts, re-upping new contracts where some of these contracts shouldn't have been re-upped. We could have just moved on and looked, moved on to greener pastures. And if you want to call it rebuilding, but at least give yourself an opportunity. Now you're contractual. Now you're just stuck in these and handcuffed with these contracts, and you're in contractual hell, man. I think you're right. 2 years ago, the window was closing. Last year, the window that was it. And this year, I think it's just too late. And just because you signed on Purdy, that doesn't solidify your playoff intentions. That's just saying that you're not looking for a quarterback at the moment.
Yeah, their cap hit's probably their cap hit.
Hey, but
is $9 million this year. That's fine. That's fine. It's 24 next year, then it goes to 30, then 57, and then in 29 and 30 it'll be 72 and 64. And at that point, the owner may fire Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch at that point. So Colin Cowherd's saying that he's starting to get the gist. I don't know if he's got sources or something that Kyle Shanahan's picking the players. Okay, that's a recipe for disaster. You do not want the coach up there picking players. We saw that with the great Bill Belichick. We saw Mike Holmgren in Seattle. It does not work. But when you've got coaches out, Mike Vrabel, that's the only reason I would endorse Tennessee moving off Vrabel. If what we're here was true, which a lot of it was, that he wanted to pick the players. I talk about maybe, if it's a player in the league that you want to trade for midseason, okay, that's okay. But drafting, are you kidding me? No way. No way.
Look
at all these players out here, man. That's too much for the coaches. There's too much on their plate right there.
For the last 3 seasons, I'm not a Shanahan fan, and I've always said that. And the 1 year I gave Shanahan the opportunity, but okay, they might win it all. Was the year before last, and
when they probably should have beat Kansas City,
and they didn't. And I was like, well, there you go. I had to eat my own words, and then I was like, but then that was proof in the pudding to me. Like, it's not just the coach, it's not just the team, it's a little bit of everything. And this team is done, man. This team is cooked. This team is, and I'm only saying that because they're in a division where everybody's caught up. Everybody's, banging on, knocking the door, ready to knock the door down. So,
yeah.
It is. And then why would you go and sign Purdy for that?
Right. When he went 6-11 last year. Now, if he would have led them to the playoffs with Trent Williams being hurt, with Brandon Ayuk got hurt after he signed his ridiculous contract.
Right.
Which is fine. He's been the only one that I would re-sign because he was really young. That being said, you still went 6-11 there with Purdy. And of course, Christian McCaffrey. Those other running backs filled in fine. That Isaac guy, whatever his name is, I thought he was okay.
They had the same record as the New York Jets.
Well, yeah, there were 6-11. They picked 11th in the draft. Then okay, we're 6-11, and Purdy couldn't carry the team. Let's give him $53 million a year. By the way, and this is a side note. I read this today. California taxes.
Oof. That's another thing.
The guy's really only getting $24.6 million a year.
Right. So maybe they did
7.5 million of that is California state tax and California SDI tax.
Right.
1686, and of course you got federal income tax at 19 million. So I mean he's not going to be poor for 24 million, 24.6.
So there you go. He's getting exactly what you say you would give him. They just have to pay him more because of the taxes.
You almost wondering if the NFL should but this would hurt the small market teams if you adjusted the cap for teams with higher salary structures and state taxes.
So there you go. We're complaining about something that really ain't got nothing to do with anything because tax wise,
it is what it is. That being said, I'm still not feeling sorry for Brock Purdy. If you give him $40 million and he makes 18 or whatever, if he makes 17 million of that money yearly in cash, I think he'll be okay from a guy that was the last pick in the draft.
You just got to put
air quotes. Was to win the Super Bowl, right?
Right. You just got to put air quotes. Sign 50+ million, but it's actually worth 20. Real value, state value wise.
Cali suck. I mean, I'm telling you, man. Maybe if Fox Sports gave me a job out there for a few years, but I would tell them you got to pay me on Tennessee state taxes. I'll do the show remotely, man. You know?
Yeah, and so like saying that, like even Colin Cowherd, I don't like to talk about people's money and stuff like that, but Colin Cowherd was talking about like how he got a huge contract, and I'm like, this guy has to move from where he was paying decent taxes to going to California, so he's probably almost making the same. Like why you guys why are you worried about what he makes? Like in California, let's say they sign me for $2 million, I'm only making what, 300,000 after taxes.
Yeah, that's true.
You know what I'm saying? So it doesn't matter. Like,
it's interesting if you look at it, like Tennessee and Florida don't have state taxes. So
right.
If say, for example, if
they don't have income tax.
What if he was a free agent? The Titans say, okay, if they're offering you $53 million, we can offer you $46 million, $45 million, and you're making the same thing.
Right.
You're taking home the same thing, and we've got more cap room to put more players because this guy's a limited player. I like him, but come on, man.
Yeah, but he's not
Josh Allen.
Right. Here's another thing. Like we don't like a lot of fans and people tend to forget. Every time they go to a different state and play, they have to pay those state taxes.
Yes.
For that.
But you have the majority of your games at home.
Right. So, and I'm not saying these guys aren't making any money, but they are their representation or whoever's getting the checks are very aware of what money needs to get paid out. And, I'm not gonna lie, it's still a nice cush job, but it's still a headache to have to be worried about what you have to pay out at the end, So
well, your accounting will tell you that ahead of time. Your agent should have all that stuff figured out.
I remember, and I know it happens less and less, but I remember back in the 80s and 90s, some of these ball players were looking to be getting some time in the penitentiary for evading taxes, and they didn't even know it. They were just playing baseball, right? Yeah. You hire somebody to take care of that, and sometimes it just gets overlooked, man. Like so.
Steve Harvey said this the other day or a while back. He said he got in some tax trouble because he was giving his accounting the check and for his taxes, and accounting was cashing the check, and he was never paying his taxes. And the guy died, and Harvey had to pay back all these back taxes or go to jail.
So you're right. You really, in my accounting, he tells me what it is, and then I send the IRS to check myself. I just do it that way.
Drive up to the Department of Treasury.
I don't drive up across state line. I just send it in the mail, and it comes to my account, to the Department of Treasury. But going back to Pretty, man, I think they need to go all in this year because I don't think it's going to work out for them. But we'll see. We'll see. Philly's paying everybody, but the problem with Philly is they draft so well.
Well, Robert, last question. Are the San Francisco 49ers better than the Rams?
Well, when healthy.
Oof.
That's a good question. That's a good question.
There you go. That's
a good question. Now, mind you, Stafford is 1 year older. Stafford, Father Time is going to catch up with Stafford, and they don't know who their backup is. That being said, Trent Williams is 36, 37, their left tackle, and I can see issues being with them as well. So I got a feeling they're going to end up winning that division. The 49ers are going to go. I think they're going to make a run this year because they want to prove to everybody they're right. And then I think they're going to fall off a cliff next year in 26, in 27. That's my prediction. What's today? May the 22nd. We got to make sure that people aren't injured in training camp. Of course.
Right. No. Well, so I have Arizona, Los Angeles, and then San Francisco.
Well, we don't know how good Sam Darnold's going to be with the pretty good Seattle team. That's a good division. Yeah. Arizona's doomed to start fast and finish slow because they've got Kyler Murray there. And that's the story of his whole career. Start fast, finish slow. I know they got a good defense. Any thoughts on Nick Sirianni getting an extension there? I know he had a year left on his contract.
Yeah, so I don't know how they announced how much he's getting extended for, or he's still keeping that under the wraps.
I just know that he got extended, and
so the talk is it's 2 to 3 years. I find it fishy and funny because there was talk about him maybe getting cut and released last year.
The head coach.
Yeah, because remember they had changed.
They had the bad year last year, didn't they? The year before last.
They changed out all their coaches before the season started last year. Like some of the coaches that he wanted there, they ended up moving on, and then he was the last coach, one of the last coaches standing, and then they had new, position coaches.
Year.
So I, and he's done the whole talking to the crowd, and then over talking some of his players. I don't know. I just if he got extended, fine. He's not a terrible coach. I just think there's a lot of small stuff with him. Sometimes it doesn't need to be there, and the focus gets lost between him and the actual team. But look, the Eagles have a good team. They got a good general manager. They got an okay coach, and they'll be all right. I don't think he lasts more than 2 seasons or anyway. So the extension is just about right anyway. So
I think the only team that can beat the Philadelphia Eagles when healthy is the Philadelphia Eagles, man.
Yeah,
I think that team's going to be up and down emotionally all year.
Right, yeah.
It's really going to be hard for them to stay motivated, if you ask me. And Sirianni is going to have to dig deep within himself to do that. I don't know if he's got the discipline to do that, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I mean, he's our age, so we'll see what
he's got one of the best winning percentages.
In the 3 years.
Last few years, it's like 702 or something. And I thought, man, you talk about some really misleading stats there.
Yeah, I was about to say
this dude has got such a deep loaded team. And I was reading a book a few years ago. I think it was back when we were in college, man. And it talked about Good to Great Companies, a great book. It talked about just the team, the great companies versus the good companies, where the under management was stronger than the general management.
Right.
And I thought about a guy like Nick Sirianni having those new coaches there, having those 2 new coordinators there, Keelan Moore, and what's our guy's name? That defensive coordinator there that they got from Miami. It's a very good coordinator.
Yeah.
Very good coordinator. And And all he had to do just be there, just be there and not screw things up and not get
say
into
too
this
much.
fight. Who was his name?
He didn't have to say too much. This is the I know who you're talking about. I can't remember his name.
I know he used to be a head coach. That guy's just coordinator. He's still with them, but remember they lost more. I think I forgot where he took over now as a head coach. I want to say he went down to I think he went down to the Saints or something, didn't he?
The coach went to the Saints.
No. Where's he a head coach at? The Saints. I was correct. Okay, Keelan Moore, 36 years old, head coach of the Saints. That's probably going to be a disaster. Eagles. But the good thing about the Eagles got running for him is this guy's he's not head coach.
Vic Fangio.
Yeah, Vic Fangio. Yeah. Very good job with Denver as a coordinator. Did not fit in well with the culture down in Miami, which I don't know why. I think McDaniel may run too loose a ship down there.
No, I just with over there, I just think that the defense there was too young, and he didn't have the one guy he can depend on
or just wasn't that good.
I just think we're too young.
They wasn't good in the trenches. Like the Eagles are very good in the trenches.
Right. Yeah. like he's very scheme oriented. So if he don't have the place for that scheme, he's gonna struggle. Yeah, you're right. They were just, and like I said, too young. But you said maybe, yeah. I mean, whatever it was, those guys didn't fit his scheme. So, you got to be a dirty dog, man.
But I'm with you. There's a chance Sirianni Super Bowl this past year, fired within the next 2 years.
Yeah. I mean, I don't have any bad wishes against him. It's just he's always done something.
He's a mediocre coach. Just
it's not even mediocrity. There's always something dramatic every season
with that guy. Yeah,
and you're just like, you're on a winning team.
Emotional. Overly emotional.
You're on a winning team, bro. Just muck it up and just move on. So.
Yeah, he reminds me of the guy that used to coach the Giants, the former special teams coordinator. I knew it was going to be a disaster.
Nah,
you can't even remember his name either, huh?
I just know that he got in a fight with the defensive coordinator.
Yeah.
It's like,
yeah. I mean, you talk about you couldn't find that guy on a milk carton now. He was another coach with the Patriots.
Yeah.
Oh,
the Giants have been struggling with coaching for the last 10 years. It's been crazy.
Joe Judge. Yeah. Oh, quick question here. Dang, I knew I was wasting time. Juan Soto. Reports out of New York that he was very happy when he went back to the Yankees because to play the Yankees because he really is not happy with the Mets per se. Michael Kincaid mentioned that. And it seemed like his family pushed him just for the money, and he's not happy. My take on that, we saw that with the Nico thing with the college football. The dad was really he's really pushing this thing to get more money. Now he's in a worse situation. I think, man, once you get 18 years old, and I speak for myself only, listening to friends and family instead of my own gut instincts.
Yeah, man.
That's why I'm not more successful than I am now. I really think, young men out there listen to your instinct. Once you're old enough to make your own decisions, listen to your instinct because you got to live with you.
Yeah.
What do you think about that report, man?
I think a lot of it is just a bunch of hooey. Like, he's in New York for a reason, and that's just to get paid. So whether it been the Yankees or Mets, he probably would have been feeling the same way because the money is here.
So he's only living across town, right?
Right. So, I don't think it's a team aspect. Can somebody please give credit to these pitchers who've been pitching well to the Mets and the Yankees? Like some of these guys going out there.
How did that series turn out? Who won that series?
The Yankees ended up winning that series. The Mets only won one game, but look,
2-1.
Yeah, these pitchers in the last 2 weeks against the Yankees and Mets have been doing very well, and they need to get credit sometimes. This guy's a super good hitter, but he can't hit what he can't hit, right? And he gets walked. He gets, and he'll get a pop up here and there. He's not doing well. I agree. He's not doing well. Should he not be doing well? No, he's $1 million player, right? Multi-million-dollar player. But at the end of the day, too, it's like he can only do with what he's getting, and they've been throwing at him.
Do you think he's pressing because he's got this big money?
I think that this is baseball, and just give him a little bit of time. He's on a new team too. Maybe they move him up in the lineup to hit. Just give this guy a little bit of a break to get comfortable. Right? Like,
yeah, it's not even June yet.
Let him break into a suit. Like, if he's doing the same things that he usually does. The only problem is that he's not banging out home runs left and right every single night. And
so you don't think you think all that's overstated?
Yeah, I think it's all overstated. Like, whether he got money from this team or even the San Francisco Giants or anybody else who want to throw money at him. Like, the problem is, and I heard somebody say this, and I think it's very relevant to what I'm talking about. And speaking of, it's like if you're going to go see a basketball game when Jordan played, you're not out there watching a basketball game. You're watching Jordan. You're watching everything Jordan does, because he was the man. He was the man at that point. He was the one getting $1 million contracts, and he was on TV and all that. This is the same thing with Juan Soto. So people want to say things and come up with things, and who don't know, and even myself, I'm not like coming up with things, but I feel like if every single player goes through this, when they go to a new team. They make adjustments for you. You got to, you're breaking in the uniform. Sometimes you get in a hot start. Sometimes this is baseball. This ain't basketball. This isn't football, man. This is baseball.
Yeah,
there's things to do.
And you're meeting new friends and teammates. So yeah. Anything you need to plug, Chief?
Yeah, no. Listen, base is 30-some games. I think Soto will be fine. Judge will be fine. This is New York baseball at its best right now. Everybody get an opportunity to watch it if they're not getting rained out, and have fun. Look, be safe this Memorial Day weekend. Thank you for all those in the service who do that thing. We should appreciate you every single day, and God bless for all those who have passed for us and gave us these rights, and we got to protect it. So you guys have a good one. Be safe, and don't do things that will get you in trouble, or understand your consequences.
All right, Mad New Yorker, everybody. Appreciate you, buddy. I'll see you next week. All right, everybody. I will see you all next week. Hopefully, I can get Rich Ferris back on the program and interview him and ask him about the Titans draft pick with Cam Ward and whatnot, who's just signed his extension or signed his contract, so he's going to be here. So have a good night, everybody. Enjoy the games. We'll see you next week here on The Real Sports.